Right relations spiritualize matter. Right relations create heaven on earth. Right relations exist when we live from the Christ consciousness in the heart. Aquarius is the age of right relations. As Aquarius blossoms, so right relations, both within ourselves and between others and as groups and nations and communities, will develop. Right relations within establish right relations with others, our community, our world. Through inner observation, we harmonise and unify our intellect and our intuition, our personality and our soul, the yin and yang, the feminine, the masculine within ourselves. Truth pervades, enabling us to see past the imperfections of the personality of another and see instead the light of the soul. And when we see the light of the soul in others, right relations blossom. They are a culmination of right intention, right thought, and right action. They develop when we see past the faults, the desires, the imperfections of the personality. In Buddhist terms, it's when we are centered in harmlessness to all beings, centered in our own Buddhic nature. Heart-centered, where unconditional love, compassion, forgiveness and gratitude abide. We see things as they truly are. We come to accept imperfection as perfect for growth and understanding. We come to see our part in conflict and misunderstanding, the misperceptions that we make through our own conditioning, through our past experiences, through our belief systems. And we come to see that we can do things differently. We come to see the truth of a situation. And in that moment, we transform. It's the oh my God moments when you realise your part in relation with another. And as we transform, so we transform others in that moment. It cannot be otherwise. We are linked energetically. When we change our vibration, when we connect with our soul, we cannot help but invite others to do the same. Our relationships with others are there to teach us, to help us grow, to learn by the discomfort of disharmony, how to come back to a place of harmony, a return to love. Our planet is governed by the ray 4 of harmony through conflict. This pervades through everything. This is our way of growing. Conflict is a gift. When you see the conflict, when you step back and you see the truth of the situation, that is your moment for transformation. That is your gift. Right relations enable us to come to a place where we can feel through the emotional body and think through the mental body, rather than the emotional body ruling us or the thoughts ruling our mind. We start to use our astral body, our mental body, as the instrument that it is, the beautiful instruments that they are. So that the ego becomes a slave to the higher self and not the master, as Arjuna in the battle in the Bhagavad Gita. Albert Einstein said, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind a faithful servant. We've created a society that honours the servant and has forgotten the gift. Alice Bailey in Telepathy and the Etheric said, only from the heart centre can stream in reality those lines of energy that link and bind together. Ruby spoke of this yesterday. When we lift up into the heart, this is when we experience right relations. The development of the soul-infused personality, as the energy of the soul is able to come down and work through an integrated, a coordinated personality, right relations become the only way of being. There's a balance of the intellectual and the intuitive, bringing the right and the left brains together, bringing the mind and the heart together, taking it out into the world in service to others. The congruence of right thought, feeling, intention, and action coordinate the lower personality vehicle and enable us to live harmlessly. Harmlessness purifies karma. It absolutely wipes it away. Harmlessness in thought. Do we truly understand what this means? Can you look inside and say, every thought I had is of no harm to another living thing? Yet when we can learn to step back in our minds, step back into the place of the observer, of the silent witness, so we come to see the thoughts that run in our mind, we come to see the feelings, we observe, and then we have a choice. We have a choice in that moment to transcend the ego. When we recognize the ego, we transcend the ego. Harmlessness and expression of the emotional desire nature. This is not suppression of the emotional desire nature. It is there to serve us, to help us grow and learn. But when we allow the will, God's will, to work through us, my will be thy will, we shift our consciousness from the emotional, physical level up to a mental level of perception. We deepen our subjective contact with our desire nature, and this comes in line with divine purpose. Bailey, in a treatise on white magic, said it is through the study of right motive that we are led naturally to right service. The secret of the will lies in the recognition of the divine nature of man. Only this can evoke the true expression of the will. If you imagine a cross, and the top of the cross is the monad, and on the vertical, the bottom is the personality, and you have the horizontal, right in the center is the soul. So we have a triad. We have the monad, the soul, the personality. And then we have the horizontal as our increasing awareness of others, our increasing awareness of that we live in a community, in a group, that we are not isolated, that we are connected. Now, right relations with yourself, standing alone in an island, are probably relatively simple. Add other people into the picture and right relations start getting difficult. It is the horizontal on the cross that is the gift of other people in developing our right relations. As we become aware of the soul, as the soul knocks on the door and starts to work through our personality vehicle, we come to realize that the energy from the monad and the personality on this vertical, the soul must be crucified on this cross. Eventually the soul is renounced. This is the great renunciation. And the monad and the personality become one, so that the three become two in one. And when this happens, the divine will becomes my will. Thy will be my will. Desire, the lower astral emotional desire, is the force of the form nature. It works up through matter, through invocation. The will is the energy of the soul expressing itself down as direction, progress, and conformity to a plan. It works downwards through evocation. When desire is massed and focused, it evokes will. So when you take your emotional desire nature in hand, you evoke your higher will of the monad, the Ray 1 energy that comes down through the monad that is within all of us. And the three become two, become one. When will is evoked, desire ends. Ruby talked yesterday about moments of crisis when we just naturally lift our energy from our lower desire nature, which is often centered here in the Manipura chakra, and we lift it up into the heart, And there's no thought of our own safety or our own personal desires or needs in that moment. The thought is only what is needed for the greater good, for service to mankind. And it may be lifting a drowning child from a river. It may be some feat that you had no idea you could even do. You may find an inner strength you didn't know you had. In that moment, desire ends and you act as my will be thy will. This is right relation within. Right relation between the Trinity within you, between the monad, the soul, and the personality. This is the will to good, the will to be all that you are. So right relations, how far you live right relations in your life is a direct expression of your soul contact. It expresses the degree to which you listen to your soul. Till eventually we come to a place where we cannot but live right relations. We know no other way of being. Meditation sensitizes us to higher impressions and detaches us from our personality, emotions, desires and thoughts. We're less affected by the desires, emotions and thoughts of others. It gives us detachment. Ruby talked of the detachment of the pure heart energy. Through development of your higher mental body, we open up to experiences and understanding, intuition and illumination from the purpose and the plan and the mind of God. This comes through the practice of going within. When our emotional body is undeveloped, it reacts to the environment and the five senses. Its activity is based on our own selfish personality nature, often protecting our own belief system, our separateness. As we develop, we can train our emotional body to react to the mind as interpreter of the soul. This is to see truth. We're then driven into action by this desire nature. It serves us. The ego serves us. And it becomes attuned to our soul and therefore attuned to divine will. And then we become energized by an infusion of soul energy through the etheric body. And this is when you know you are on the path, your contribution to the greater whole, your part in the whole, in God's will. And my will becomes thy will. This is right relation. In the West, this renunciation of the soul, this renunciation we do not need to live in isolation as a monk meditating on a mountain and renounce the world. The renunciation is to renounce our personality desires for our soul's guidance. That is our renunciation. It is a mental renunciation. Right intention leads to right thought, which leads to right action. So it's the intention. The intention comes from the heart. So when we lift our energy into the heart, this is where right intention comes from. It cannot not. But before we develop right intentions with others, we need to establish right relations with others. We need to establish right relations within ourselves. We need to bring the duality within us into a unity. So we need to bring the intellect and the intuition together so that they work hand in hand. We bring the personality and the soul together as one unit. We bring especially the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang within us into a whole, into one. And this coming back to a wholeness, or rather realizing your wholeness, is the key to all healing and inner growth. It's coming back to who you truly are. It's man, know thyself. And we start with listening. Right relation within yourself starts with truly listening. Listening from the heart. Listening brings us into the present moment. So we're not caught up in the past, and we're not caught up predicting the future, and we're not worrying about what might be and what has been. We are here and now. Listening leads to right action because listening helps to attune the mind to the soul. It is mindful living, it is connection to what is. When you listen to your own inner guidance, your own innermost gut feelings, that which you know to be true, you know to be the right thing for you to do. It may not be what other people consider to be the right thing, but you know it's right for you. It's checking in regularly, going into the silence, trusting, opening up, asking. Is this truly right for me, or do I just want it to be right for me? And this takes great honesty. And honesty requires courage and a deep commitment to your soul's path. Ask yourself, am I truly honest with myself? Because when you are, there is no greater peace. This is peace of mind. It doesn't mean you don't have imperfections and faults and things to work on at all. We are all work in progress. But it means that you know thyself. You know where you are. You have a true understanding of yourself. So by regularly quietening your mind and going deep into the silence, we come to recognize the thoughts and feelings that stem from our lower desire nature, that come from our ego and separate us from protecting our position of that we are right, or affirming a belief we don't really want to let go of. But when we step back and look at those thoughts and those beliefs, we start to see those that we've accepted from others, those that are conditioned from our childhood, those that come from past lives.